Hi, I'm Matt from AWS, and on today's episode of This Is My Architecture, I'm joined by Andy from OutSystems. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So tell us about OutSystems.
OutSystems is a leading low-code application development platform, and we're building our new platform on AWS.
Great, thank you. So architects like us like to talk about monolith decomposition. It's one of those favorite topics, but there's more to decomposing a monolith than just the application or the microservices part. Is that right?
Right. It's really the data. The data really it has a gravity to it that makes it really difficult for you to scale and also write and also build a high performant, low cost platform. And especially as we're going multi-tenancy, that's where a lot of the services in AWS really benefit us. We have in our platform, we have several different kinds of data. We have a whole segment of binary data.
Yeah.
We have a bunch of relational, core relational items that goes to defining the applications we give our customers.
Okay.
We have a bunch of data that's really configuration, or really it's key value pairs. And then the last part is a bunch of encrypted data for sensitive information.
So as part of your journey to microservices and decomposing this monolith, you're looking at the different types of data within your applications and then putting them in the different storage and database services that AWS offers, is that right?
Yes, and the great thing about all of these different services, like we'll take binaries, S3 is a natural location for unstructured blob data.
Yeah.
It's also a great place to store document or structured data that is just accessed by key.
It's effectively a key value store. Yeah.
Exactly, and it's something that scales. It's something that's resilient. We still have a lot of data which really should still be relational.
Yeah.
And that's where using Aurora Serverless really comes into play, because one of the things that we're doing during our decomposition is that each of our customers, each of our tenants, will have their own instances of these different services.
So you don't have sort of a giant centralized database. You have applications team owning their own Aurora serverless instance. Is that right?
Exactly, and that's really the power of the serverless and these request-based kind of data services, is that you can have different services, each having their own instances of these to let my teams manage their own data, but also run independently.
Okay, so you have relational data in Aurora serverless. You have key value and more sort of blob-like data in S3. How are you using Dynamo? And I see Secrets Manager here too.
Yeah, so a lot of, as we're looking at all the data that we're storing inside of the relational, one of the things that we evaluated is how much of the configuration or the key value pair data that we have, if we could use and leverage something that's a little bit less expensive, but also scales a little better.
So you're offloading some of the data out of the relational database to Dynamo.
Yeah, it's not that we're worried necessarily about Aurora's performance. It's more of the idea of a relational database is inherently that singleton in an architecture from a performance and a scale perspective, and leveraging some of the other services, it gives us some more agility.
Yeah, I mean, it makes total sense to sort of tier your data and choose the purpose-built database to best meet your needs. I'm curious to know how you're using Secrets Manager. You normally wouldn't associate it with database and storage services, but in this case.
Yeah, and so our current product is based on an enterprise architecture.
Yeah.
Where the only kind of predictable, well-maintained storage that you would have would be a relational database. So it became a catch-all for where we put things. Now, we don't store secrets inside of our the relational store, but we do store encrypted data.
Okay.
Some of the different RDS or the relational instances give you the ability to manage it, and then we also have our own app level. But that's where Secrets Manager comes in, where instead of us having to manage it, we can offload that and then use the service to securely store those items.
So instead of pre-encrypting and then loading it into the relational database, you could just put it into Secrets Manager directly.
Exactly, and then through the use of like IAM roles and other things, it allows us to ensure that tenancy boundary for our customers.
Okay, you said tenancy a few times and multi-tenancy. Is that how you're using KMS? So, you have KMS down here, it's our last icon. How is that being used in this data architecture? Yeah,
and the great thing about a lot of these services, right, and AWS provides some really good best practices. It provides also, the pattern way in which you can then encrypt data. And so, one of the things that's key to, the customers, especially they'll ask in a multi-tenant world is, how do I know my data's safe from other people? We have the IAM roles as a way to kind of segregate from a permissions perspective, but then using the built-in encryption mechanisms that each of the services have, and we can generate a per tenant key or multiple keys for that tenant. And then apply to each of the different services. This also gives us a very straightforward path to do a BYOK strategy as well.
A bring your own key strategy, yeah.
Exactly.
Nice. So I like how you're applying, from not only the data side and picking the right storage service and database service to meet your needs in addition to Secrets Manager, but you're also enabling a microservices-based architecture and multi-tenancy with bring your own key and KMS-based encryption that works well with these services. It's really a nice extension of what we traditionally associate with a monolith decomposition.
Yeah. It's something. And one of the other things that's really empowering is that most of these services have a very easy way for you to do local development with them to allow developers to work detached and then independently.
Nice, and ultimately that's what we're trying to do: empower developers so they can be more productive and ship more code. Right? That's great. Thanks for sharing this architecture with us.
Thank you.
And thanks for watching. This is my architecture.